My introduction to the Kemetic or Egyptian Tarot, Part 3, and Part 3 specifically deals with the Devil card, Le Diable, de Tufel il Diavolo. It is the card that is representative in any layout or reading of things which typically relate to carnality, to the flesh, to excesses in materialism, greed, gluttony, lust, false or illusionary power, enslavement, and addiction. Uh, Clearly, there is a duality in ancient Egyptian understanding of the devil, as it were. A duality in that, just as in the example in Christian teaching where God created the angels, created Lucifer, who then sought out to challenge God. It is a allusion to ego concepts, to false sense of pride and foundation. It is those things which make us most human, but most human at the most basic and lower chakra levels. So indeed, there exists that duality where there is a absolute negativity or absolute evil or devil, as it were, but also a relative devil in that we all possess and have access to that duality, and that duality is relative within any given situation. So, indeed, there is not a Satan or a Lucifer, as it were, specific to ancient Egyptian tradition. We do have stories and teachings that involve Osiris or Asar, who is chopped into 13 pieces by Seti or Set, who can be seen specifically in that instance as a devil or negative incarnation or abuse of spiritual power, where Offset or Isis collects all of his pieces except for the phallus, which was, according to the story, swallowed by a fish, thus leading to the necessity for the obelisk, which I will do at a later time. But Set is an example of a negative reinforcement, as it were, in Egyptian tradition, without the allusion to an absolute evil, like the devil. And Anubis. There are many forces, apep, within the mythologies of ancient Egyptian religion and spirituality, which could be identified with the negative connotation aspect we have been given with the Christianized, westernized. And when I say westernized, I want to be clear. I'm speaking Judaic, Islamic, and Christianized. Though you might fight among yourselves, you primarily come from a central place within your doctrine and your books and in your teachings. So you're really different sides, as it were, to the same coin. But within the more indigenous cultures on the planet, to include those Pan African religious and spiritual cultures, there is that absolute evil and it has its place, but there's also that relative evil, which we can access, turn on, turn off, block, call and rebuke, invoke and bind, literally at our will. It comes with the gift of will, with being human, with humanity, with so-called intellectual thought, that ability to make choices. So the devil card can often relate to a crossroads, as it were, in the Egyptian or Kemetic tarot card reading. It can relate to where we need to step back and re-examine excess, excesses either from within or from without, our own excesses, our ability to surrender to gluttony, to greed, to jealousy, to envy, sloth, laziness, backstabbing, all those things that seem so prevalent and entertaining right now in our pop culture, but seem to be absent, as it were, in the overall conversation spiritually and religiously. And we all know that it's present. It is present not only in the symbolism of the devil in the Egyptian tarot, where you have a mythological obese beast of some sort with a worm or serpent at its stomach, suggesting gluttony, greed, excess, overuse. But he's also carrying a torch, which represents the illusion of power or false power, or an actual power that's being used for a false purpose. He also has that flame above his head, which suggests true consciousness, true light, true fire, as it were, as it pertains to spirituality, but the rest of the body is detached from it and is suffering a severe state of over excess, over usage, and bondage. He is standing on top of what looks like slaves with the head of some sort of horned animal, and they are chained by the neck, further suggesting slavery, bondage, addiction, enslavement, and being captive, as it were, to something artificial, to something synthetic, while they are surrounded all around by water, which is the presence of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So again, I know I got some angry mail from, well, not a lot of people, but one or two so-called Luciferians who embrace and accept the deified angelic form of the devil, but for whatever reason have decided to negate the abuses representative of that symbolism, not just in the three main world religions, but in many world and indigenous religions throughout the world, reminding us to consider our own selfish goals and desires, our own excesses, our own greed, our own laziness, and our own inability to do what is readily available: study, prepare, fast, pray, meditate, walk, exercise, run, get out and enjoy life, enjoy spirit, but also manifest and live that spirit that we say that we believe, that we teach, that we understand, that we practice, that we worship upon and with. And let it not be for gluttony and lust and self-based, those chakras below the fourth chakra before the heart, will, self-sustaining, greed is an extension of our ability to sustain ourselves even in the most crisis-laden situation. But once we start taking more than we need, once we start abusing more than we truly can give and share, then we have crossed the line into greed, gluttony, lust, all those so-called deadly sins that are latent in the devil card. So again, when we see the devil card, when it appears, it is a warning for us to look at that torch, look at the light, clarify the source and purpose of the light, the intention, the meaning behind, and then reevaluate our knowledge of the situation and how we act and respond and interpret thus, particularly those cards which lay to the left or to the right, above or below the presence of the devil in the Egyptian or Kemetic tarot. So I will be back with my introduction to Egyptian tarot 4